In this episode of America's Podcast. Guess who I'm speaking with today? Don't worry, I'll wait. I'm just kidding. You'll never guess unless you already read the title of the episode. I'm talking to my mom and stepdad about cannabis. It wasn't long ago where I was getting lectured about how bad pot was for you, which from a parent to kid perspective is great because as we know, the brain is negatively affected by cannabis until you're about the age of 25 when your brain stops growing. So it's quite a trip to see how full circle it's come to where I'm educating my parents about cannabis. I'm just so lucky. In this episode, we go over the extreme basics of cannabis. So if you're a reasonably knowledgeable person with cannabis, this episode might not be for you. We talk about everything from knowing the difference in uses between hemp and marijuana, the general characterization of sativa, hybrid, indica categories, how a new strain is developed, medical versus recreational, black versus white market, different forms and uses of cannabis, drug testing and how to get around it, THC versus CBD, whether or not cannabis is addictive. I have an interesting thought about that. The endocannabinoid system, and we even talk about the mission of America's Podcast. So pretty basic stuff we're talking about, but what you wouldn't realize is a lot of people don't know all this stuff. And to really understand cannabis as a whole, I think this information is extremely valuable. I hope y'all enjoy this episode as much as I did. I'm still tripping about it. Enjoy. Alrighty, well, we are talking about Cannabis 101 today, so I'm going to hopefully teach y'all at least the basics and have y'all have a better understanding and be able to walk away and at least know a general aspect of everything about cannabis. So let's start by saying that there's two different types of plants, the cannabis plant and then a hemp plant. They're in the same family, but hemp is only made for like paper and for, it can be basically used to make structures because of the fiber so dense and strong, but you cannot smoke it and get high. This is the original Declaration of Independence was written on a hemp piece of paper. Pretty crazy how far it's come, and as of this year, it got reinstated in the U.S. legalization process, and now we can finally grow hemp on U.S. grown soil, which is amazing. That's another big industry. It doesn't help us in a medical aspect. It only helps us in like a building aspect. So with that being said, cannabis obviously is a plant, as you know, and usually there's three different types. You have sativa, hybrid, and indica. Have you ever heard of those?
No. Say it again. What is it?
Sativa,
Okay.
hybrid,
Hybrid.
which is a
Uh-huh.
mix of sativa and indica, and then indica.
Okay, I've never heard of any of them.
Okay, that's just fine. The hybrid is a mix of both. So an easy way to think of this is a sativa is like a morning coffee or a Red Bull or something that is it's a strain that's very creative and it's gonna make you feel more energized, more upbeat. As for an indica, I like to say indica, because it's more of a couch lock. It's more of a sedative, relaxing strain, or each plant is different in the fact that they affect you differently. So it's pretty cool to see. Not every plant is the same, but you can grow certain strains to make you feel a certain way. As you know, strain names are crazy. They differ, like Sour Diesel or White Widow or Granddaddy Purple. These are all just names of different plants of cannabis. And now people have taken these plants and they've liked it so much that they'll keep reproducing the same plant to get the same effects because their patients like that or what have you. Basically, you have those three fields: sativa, hybrid, indica, and then everything else plays out on top of that.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Wait a minute. So
hmm
you've got all these different names, but they're all coming from these certain strains, or is it recreating a new strain?
so these names are basically made up from the grower or whoever grew it initially. And a lot of people now just slap on a name on whatever weed plant they want and call it whatever the hell they want. For the legit people that do this, it's genetics and they have certain things and whatnot. But could you ask me that question a little differently? Sorry, I'm trying to answer it in a better way.
Yeah, like what she's asking is like when you said the different names a while ago, are there things mixed with the cannabis, well, let's just say the indica, let's just say there are things mixed with that, and that gives it that name.
Okay. This is a great question. Yep. Okay. So sativa and indica, it's just like a field. So let's think of coffee. Let's think you can get decaf or caffeinated, but yet that's not necessarily the name of the bean. The bean didn't come from caffeinated country. It came from Venezuela or it came from Indonesia or what have you. But sativa and indica is just a broad name, a broad spectrum of how you categorize that strain. So it's actually not a you can't go to a dispensary and get the weed strain sativa, but you can go to a dispensary and talk to a bartender and ask what sativas do you have, and they'll say, oh, we have these five over here, and
Okay. So
yeah,
the different grower gives a different name to what he's growing.
correct. Now, if they're a legit grower, like I said, they won't just make up a name. They've had this name in their family for however long, or they've bought that seed from that high quality geneticist, and they originally named it. So only the people in the black market are just mislabeling it, but the people in the white market actually have some honor and pride of what they produce and their names, and they don't just make that shit up on the fly.
Okay.
They've taken years to master this strain and the effect that it has on you, and they want that name to be concrete and no one else to be changing it. But yes, sativa and indica is just a broad spectrum of categorizing the way it'll make you feel.
Okay.
And then a hybrid is the same thing. It's a just a mix of a sativa and indica plant. So it's going to kind of make you feel a little creative, but at the same time a little relaxed. So it's pretty cool, and how they can just kind of mix plants over time, literally make them have sex pretty much. And over the years, they get their babies and they grow them up and they sex them and then they get their babies. And it's to do a legitimate new strain to cross over and make these all have sex. It takes about 2 years. So it's definitely a long process, and they're trying to pinpoint it down.
All right, so if you have geneticists crossing these, making all these different strains, like you said, babies, etc., how do they do testing? Who does the testing? How do you know what the effects are and how they make you feel?
Right.
Who's creating all that?
Great question. So now, if they want to get really specific and like get the numbers on the flower, the plant, they'll basically take it once it's completely done. Once they think they have their final product, they can take it to labs now and get analysis reports done of the type of like the content that's in that plant. So what we have a multitude of things in cannabis called cannabinoids, and there's over 400 different types of cannabinoids. The main two are so let's think for a Ferrari. We have the badass engine and transmission and brakes and all this kind of stuff. Well, and this cannabis plant, when you bring it to the lab, they're going to tell you what all is in this plant. So the two main things that people are going to look at is THC and CBD. Have you heard of those?
THC I have, and what's the other one?
CBD, Charlie Bravo Delta.
Okay.
And those are really key things to know. THC is the psychoactive molecule in cannabis. It is the part that makes you the feeling that makes you high. It's the antidepressant molecule in it, and it's not necessarily a very medicinal aspect of cannabis, but it is the thing that most people that are looking to smoke it recreationally or don't really care about the medicinal effects, that's where they're going after. They want to feel that highness. CBD is the other molecule, and it is the extremely medicinal aspect. It is non-psychoactive. It will never get you high. You will feel, ultimately, you will feel anxiety relief. Your joints, arthritis pretty much diminish. There's a multitude of things that CBD can be used for. I mean, anti-inflammation, stomach problems, anxiety, sleep, just pretty much almost a lot of minor issues you can think of. It can help. Besides, if you just got in a car wreck, I don't think it's going to help you too much. So those are the two main things. So you go to the lab, the scientist tells you, hey, you have 20% THC and 2% CBD. And you look at it and you're like, damn, last year or 2 years ago when I tested this exact same strain, it had 15% THC and 0.5% CBD. So we've gotten better. So that's kind of the aspects that they look at. And there's other things as well that they look at, but those are the two main things. And that's kind of what they base their analysis. And also they'll do personal testing. And a lot of people, once they perfect that strain, they'll go out and have their owner and Billy Bob Joe down the street and everybody else test it out and see how they like it and see how they feel. And so yeah, they also have an objective, personalized testing as well, not only analytical from the lab.
Now, the medical term that we want to use when we get involved in this is cannabis, correct?
Correct. Yep. As you know, it's called a multitude of things: marijuana, pot, sticky icky, dope, whatever. Um, yeah, but the most proper term and something that doesn't have so much of a stigma is cannabis. Marijuana would be a close second, but I think cannabis sounds a lot better, and you just sound, you don't sound like a super stoner hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yes, what's that?
I have another question for you. You were talking about the black market and white market. So the white market now is what grows for the pharmacists.
So yeah, so the white market. So as of many years, it's all been black market, and as of recently, a lot of states have become medical. So you have two forms of cannabis use for adults in America. You have medicinal and you have recreational. Medicinal being you have to get a doctor's note in your state if they allow it, and then you can go to any dispensary and get your whatever you want. Recreational, like it is in California and I think like 15 other states now, pretty much if you're over the age of 21 with a valid government issued ID, you can just walk into a dispensary and get whatever you want. I definitely agree more on the medicinal aspect, but I understand with business terms that recreational can be profitable as well. Black market and white market, it's still, the black market is very prevalent even in these states that are legalized because of the taxes. The taxes are so damn high for businesses and consumers alike that it really just continues to open up the black market, because it doesn't make sense to go get 2 weeks worth of cannabis at your dispensary for $80 when you can get it from Joe Blow down the street for $40. So it's still prevalent in that aspect, but it's getting. Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah. So there's certain laws in certain states like California you can have up to, I think, like 2 ounces on you without having a medical recommendation. But yeah, as far as black market goes, it's still there. We're not working with that. So everybody that comes to you with cannabis is going to have a license, and they're going to have all their documentation and stuff like that. So it's not going to be Joe Blow coming to you to your dispensary in the back door trying to sell you 20 pounds of something he just grew 3 months ago. So
now, do you deal with all the same growers?
No, we're always getting new growers. Like I said, as long as they are licensed up and they're fully legal, then we are willing to work with them and see what they have to offer. Yeah, every grower is different from the stuff that they used, their techniques and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, well, what makes a legal grower against a backyard grower?
Good question. They have to apply for certain licenses, and they have to have the state come and look at their grow every so often. Honestly, I think they can pop in at any time once they're legal. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I know that they have to apply and be approved for those licenses.
Okay.
So, and not every state you can grow. Like in Florida, there's only 4 permits that they're allowing people to grow, and there's over 550 applicants. Yeah, every state is different, and usually, like even in California, it's by county of if you can have a dispensary there. I mean, there's counties in California that they still don't allow cannabis, and then there's other counties that you can legally grow 6 plants on your own private property, and there's a bunch of dispensaries and what have you. So every state's different, every county's different, and that's what really makes it tough because of banking and because of county codes, and if you want to create a dispensary and kind of chain it off, I mean, you have to really look into the local laws and whatnot. So it's difficult, but it's getting there. So unlike our Canadian brothers up north, they are just fully legal. The government issues everybody, even active military, cannabis. So it's completely different in other places. So we're trying to figure it out, but it's so freaking slow. The laws move so slow that we're moving in quicksand. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this now. So if you get a doctor's note medicinally and you go to a dispensary, who pays for the total bill? Like, does Medicaid help since you have a doctor's note, or do you totally pay out of pocket?
You totally pay out of pocket. And this goes with, they do, a lot of dispensaries offer senior discount, military discount, all that kind of stuff. But it's all in all, it's paid for out of your pocket because it is federally illegal still.
Yeah, not on the insurance.
Yep, correct. And then also that brings up my thing with the VA. They also don't prescribe cannabis. And I actually interviewed someone last week, Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance, about how they're trying to supply the VA with their flower, and they have a Veterans Compassion Program where they actually give out free cannabis that they pay taxes on to military veterans. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, insurance does not cover it yet.
Okay.
Yet.
Yeah. Hopefully in time.
It will. It definitely will. So, but it's going to be a few more years.
Yeah, it's taken over. It's just like you said, it's each county, state approving everything.
Yep. This brings up another thing. So different forms of how you can induce marijuana, or what's best for this or what's best for that. There's so many different things you can do with a cannabis plant other than the flower. So another nicer term for buds is flower. So what you come away with after you grow the plant is like I said, your flower is what is used to turn into concentrates, or to turn into a topical cream that you can apply, just like Bengay or icy hot or what have you. You can also have flower where you can just put in your pipe and smoke it, or you also have drinks or anything infused, edibles, chocolate bars, candies, freaking pretzels, whatever you can think of. It's pretty much cannabis can be involved or induced into that substance. So, I mean, there's vaping now, all that kind of stuff. Is there any specific questions y'all have on that and how it's used or whatnot?
Yeah, she had written down what was the different ways that you could actually take this. How is it used?
Okay.
You know, like you just said, it's a rub. We've heard of the oils.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely know of the smoking.
Right. So yeah. So the cannabis plant, even like if you don't want to smoke it, let's say I'm going to my grandma and I know that she doesn't want to smoke a joint because she might think it's going to be hard on her lungs or whatnot. So she can take like a sublingual, like a drop, or a topical where you rub it on a certain area for a localized pain relief. But basically what happens is you take the flower extractors, like big companies take the flower and they pull out all the medicinal aspects of that plant. Kind of like if you were to go and get an essential oil diffuser. When you buy that lavender oil, it's obviously not lavender in a plant form. It's lavender in a liquid form. So they take out all the terpenes and the essential oils out of that plant and then put it into the oil or the topical or whatever. Same thing with cannabis. They dry it, they extract all the cannabinoids and all that good stuff out of it. And then it can be turned into whatever you want. Like I said, it can be turned into extracts, edibles, drinks, tinctures, topicals, droplets, all this kind of stuff. I mean, pills, all this kind of stuff. And certain applications are good for certain symptoms that you're trying to relieve. So let's say I have all day anxiety and I just don't ever want to go out of the house. Well, I would probably recommend something like a CBD, something that's non-psychoactive, an edible, because an edible, once you eat it, it goes through your stomach and all your intestines, and it takes a longer time to work, but it lasts for so much longer. The effect lasts all day instead of, like, let's say you take 1 or 2 hits off of a joint, and that effect is only going to last like 1 to 2 hours. But that effect will almost be immediate because you're inhaling it. It's going into your membranous, your mucous membranes. That is almost immediate to go into your body, and you're going to feel something. So, yeah, there's different applications for different means of which you want to relieve your pain or what have you. Randy, for you have bad knees. I would recommend like a topical on your knees that's gonna really have a localized sensation of relief, and it's, I mean, there's so many applications that I could go on for days, but I'm just trying to give y'all the general basic ones.
Okay, let me ask you another question. If we were to get involved in this, do we personally have to get licensed through company?
No, like in California, that's basically everyone that works in the cannabis industry. They don't even have a medical doctor's note because it's already fully legal over the age of 21. So you're good to go. It's just more money you have to pay somebody else to get that. But in Michigan, for instance, it's only medical right now. It will be recreational soon, just like Florida. Um, but no, you don't have to get any licensing at all. There's nothing for you to get personally.
What is besides you being so intelligent on the subjects, is there any books that are published that you could actually sit and become more
hmm
in
Uh,
tune into the industry?
what's funny is that was one of the very first questions my dad asked me yesterday was, is there a book or podcast you would recommend that could
Right,
help me better understand cannabis as a whole? And I
right.
told him, I was like, honestly, I don't know any books or podcasts, but I said, if you would listen to this episode with Mom and Randy, I think you would benefit highly from it.
Okay.
So, but I will do my research on some books because I definitely think the more information from y'all, or to y'all, the better. Obviously, I can give y'all what I know, but I'm sure if someone else said it in a different aspect, y'all would understand it better or just another avenue of learning it. But I'll do my research on that.
All right. Well, no, we learn a lot from you. I mean, you're very intelligent on the subjects. How
Mhm.
did you learn it all? I mean, how did you become,
Good,
so good at it? I
great
mean,
question. Yeah, as you know, I love to do my research. Once I dive into something, I dive into it at the deepest. I dive into it like the Mariana Trench.
yeah, you really
So,
do.
yep. So, I just become so engulfed in it, and everybody that I talk to, especially here in California, I mean, it's not like the East Coast where it's like basically if you don't smoke or if you don't like cannabis, even if you don't like use it all the time, you're kind of like that one person, like you're that guy. It's just there's just so much more knowledge and openness about talking about it around here that I've just picked up on it so much. But I have done just extensive amounts of research, and this podcast I've talked to big CEOs of these companies that have been in this industry for years. So
Right.
I've been able to sit down and pick the brains of masterminds in this industry. And that's really how I've learned it. And I've always wanted to get better at whatever I do every single day. So my whole thing is I want to educate others and help others be more informed about this. And if I'm not on top of my game, then they won't have their due diligence. They won't have their justice of knowing everything. And if I don't know something, I will figure it out. I'll find it out from the right person. It's kind of very much like the fitness industry. There's a lot of bullshit supplements out there. There's a lot of BS knowledge and stuff like that. And so is cannabis. And I want to be the one to set it straight. So,
Well,
um,
then why don't these big corporations or companies actually have some type of professional like yourself that would do classes and
mhm,
teach people and open the minds of some that are so closed
right.
and educate the public?
That's a great question. I think they eventually will. I know some dispensaries offer small classes, but I think that they, as a company, people don't have a representative because they still feel like they're a little scared, I guess, to speak out in that way. But honestly, I could really see myself in 1, 2, 3 years from now getting hired on by a big company to talk for them. Or, I mean,
Right.
honestly, with America's podcast, I feel like I could be the voice of reason for cannabis as a whole, as America. I mean, I feel like I represent so many people. I talk to a broad spectrum of people. I'm not just involved with the growing. I'm not just involved with the business, the
Right.
cultivation, the packaging, all that kind of stuff. I know pretty much all of it in a very general basis. But I think to not sound very bragging, but I feel like I could be that person. Um,
Right.
and
Well,
but
and I think too, you're not being paid by a corporation right now. So to me,
mhm,
it's just coming from your heart and your soul. And this is just something
right.
you truly believe in because it is helpful to so many. And
hmm
that's what we like to hear because you're not selling a product to us like, QVC.
100%. And that's what I believe, and that's my whole idea, goal, and mission behind the podcast is to give something people of value, because then they will always return to you. They will want to give back at that point. You've given so much to them that they'll want to give back to you. And that's ultimately my goal, is to help other people. I'm always genuine. I only talk and mess around with genuine people, and I'm not going to ever advertise a product on my podcast or talk about it if I don't feel comfortable and that's something that I would use or represent.
Yeah.
Even if a big company, a corporation, Coca-Cola, put $50,000 in my pocket and said, "Hey, talk about this," and it has a addictive property in it, I would shun it away so quick. I will always stay true to my roots, and I think that's something that I think other companies will eventually see. But I'm not going out there and wanting to attach to these companies yet, because I just want to keep on adding value forever to my audience.
Well, I'm proud of you for that. You'll never be a politician, buddy, but I'm proud of you.
Yep, I know I won't, but I will have dedicated followers always. I mean, always.
Yeah.
So, and that's what's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. What I want to say too is, for Randy and I, we're considered baby boomers, and I realize that being baby boomers, there is a lot of us, and we're getting to the time in our lives where we're having aches and pains and issues. But yet, the majority, I say majority, now I could be wrong, but a good percentage of us have been closed-minded to cannabis because it has been a taboo for so long.
Yep.
So that I really think as we age, and we are getting to that age, we need to be more open-minded. We need to be taught. We need to understand the benefits and the medicinal part of it, because we want to find ways to be healthier, to stay with our families longer. And so I think the baby boomers are the biggest place, because the younger generation already knows about it, probably is even using it. We are not. So I feel like that is where you need to
target my audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a huge thing. I actually mentioned that to Dad yesterday. That's honestly the biggest negative stigma came from the reefer madness movement that the government pushed 30, 40 years ago, and the fact that they didn't want the Mexican cartel. They wanted to basically make it look like the cartel was supplying this drug and it's so bad, and smoking reefer cigarettes is going to kill you. And then basically it's kind of like saturated fat 10 years ago. I mean, it was so scrutinized, and now we're starting to understand that, hey, it's okay to have these healthy fats from animals and all this kind of stuff. Right. That is huge, because yes, there's such a negative stigma around it there, and that aspect that these people of that age really need that, especially with arthritis and with just not being able to sleep or what have you. That is huge. And that's really what I'm working to break, that stigma every single day. And it's tough. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Slowly I'm seeing more older people in dispensaries, which is a beautiful thing. More other older people talking about it and discussing it, and that's ultimately what we really need. It's going to be hard for someone like a young guy like me to go to an old folks home and to tell, hey, this is good for you, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I can package it up and make it look good for them, but it's still going to be tough. But yeah, right. That is a huge point, a huge audience that it really needs to be tapped into and to be changed, because it is, especially for them, it is so beneficial. So,
well, yeah, of course. And like I said, we're the ones that are going through the changes in our life, and our bodies are not communicating well with our brain. Our brain tells us we're still in our 20s and 30s, but our body says, oh, that's funny. You're not.
Right.
So, and the other thing I was going to say is, for us growing up, a lot of things, we were told that smoking marijuana was the gateway drug to other substance abuses. So, that's something too you have to fight against, is, this is not a drug that's going to keep you hooked like heroin, and
right.
you're gonna die from it. You know what I mean? It has right. to be. You have to make people understand that is not what this is.
Correct. And from a molecular standpoint, cannabis is not addictive, but personally, I think anything can be addictive. I think food can be addictive. I think if you get ice cream every single night, you are technically addicted to that. You can overdose on water. You can have too much water. You can be addicted to social media. I mean, I feel like, yes, as a molecular compound, cannabis isn't addictive, but you could be every morning you wake up and you need that joint or what have you, and you smoke all day and you don't get shit done. At that point, you are addicted.
Right.
But let's get the facts straight. Cannabis is not a addictive compound. It is not a gateway drug. I said this to my dad yesterday, and I'm saying this to y'all. I have not tried anything else but cannabis. I haven't tried ecstasy, Molly, heroin, freaking meth, coke. I haven't done any of that. I can attest to it not being a gateway drug. I feel like if you are that individual that is very open to trying new things, I think even before you were to try cannabis, I think you are already looking at trying other things. I think that's just person to person, how that can be open
Right.
doors to other things. Technically, no, it is not. So definitely not. I'm glad you brought that up.
All right. Well, like I said, at our age, I don't foresee that even becoming an issue.
Mhm.
I just don't. I just see that the benefits for baby boomers is okay. Well, let's relieve your migraines. Let's
Mhm.
relieve your joint pain. Let's relieve, and once you try it and it's great, then that's what they'll stick to. I just feel like at this age, we're loyal to whatever works.
Right.
And,
Yep.
and we're not in it to be experimental and try all these other things.
Right. And I feel like y'all are so much more self-aware, and you know your body so much better than we do because you've just had so much time on Earth that you will critique your body in such a way that you try this product out and that product out, and you'll really know how to affect you and how next time take more, take less, or what have you.
Right.
So
All right.
I
Well,
love these questions. Love them.
well, let me ask you this now, because we've talked about medicinally, and I know you've talked about joint pain and all this other stuff. I'm going to go to the woman side of it because I'm at the age of menopause.
Hmm.
How does it help women with menopause? You have night sweats, you have irritability, you have all kinds of changes that women go through
Hmm.
that are just being spoken about now. It was kind of taboo not to talk about it.
Right.
So, what do you say about that?
Heck yeah, that's great. I wish Ray was on the phone because she would be able to tell you about all this as well. Menopause and cramps, period cramps, all that kind of stuff. It helps because let me talk a little science to you.
Okay.
Every human being, even certain mammals and reptiles and insects, have what's called an endocannabinoid system. And I mean every single human being, even Jeff Sessions, Donald Trump, me, you, all of us. So which is really freaking crazy because we produce our own cannabinoids, and when we inhale the cannabis plant, whether it's THC or CBD, it binds onto certain receptors in our body. We have receptors called the CB1 and CB2 receptors, and one of them is in our peripheral system, which kind of affects our organs, our liver, our all of our internal operating system. And then you have the CB2 receptor that affects the brain and other aspects of your body. Anyways, it's all attached. It's wild. So what cannabis does is it almost acts as a homeostasis, a regulator in that system. And that's why the cannabis plant doesn't just help migraines. It doesn't just help anxiety. It doesn't just help joint pain. It helps so many aspects, and no other medicine does that really. That's why it's amazing. It's really hard to study because it does help all these systems. And it's the reason why it does that is because our endocannabinoid system is in touch with everything in our body, literally. Cramps, night sweats, all this stuff is reduced. And I think sometimes some testimonials, women say that it's eliminated. And I would honestly love for you to give me your own feedback if I can get some stuff out to you, and you tell me because it is supposed to help.
Because right now I'm on pharmaceutical drugs
Hmm.
and I don't like it.
Right.
And and there's things that I can't take because of my certain
The drugs you're
um,
on. Yep.
well, the drugs I'm on and my body, it produces stuff that blood clotting issues. So I can't take what some women can take.
Hmm.
I am not allowed to take any hormones, no estrogen, no nothing. I'm not
Gotcha.
allowed blood clotting.
Wow.
So I am kind of stuck with the pharmaceutical end of it, and I can't do anything else. So yeah, I would love to be a test patient.
Okay, cool. Hell yeah. I will, yep, we'll get that done. We will get that done. Because honestly, I've heard so many stories, and this is honestly the biggest category of stories of people going from opioids to cannabis. Now, it kind of seems weird. It's like, okay, you're going from one substance to the other, but not really. It's as if you were to go from McDonald's burgers to your own cow that you killed in your backyard, and it's grass fed and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of two different sides of it, big time. And opioids, as you know, are very addictive and really just harmful to your body in a lot of other ways. I mean, you listen to these commercials and there's 30 side effects to the two remedies that actually fucking helps. So,
Right.
yeah, so, but I would love for you to personally let me know how you attest to that, because that's the biggest thing is coming off opioids for so many people. And that's another thing. I mean, Florida, especially in Florida, like it's the biggest opioid overdose state, and the pharmaceutical companies don't like cannabis. They
Nope.
want their users to be addictive and for them to keep raining in money.
Yeah.
So they are backdoor
Come off
trying to shunt that.
Yeah, well, I'd love to come off them. I've been on them at least 4 years, 4 or 5 years,
Hmm.
and I'm just over it. And all I do is increase the milligrams,
Yep.
and I'm just not
Hmm.
I'm not comfortable with that, and I don't like it. So yeah, I'd be more than willing.
You and a lot of other people in America. Like I said, I was talking to Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance, and they were saying that they've had this Vietnam War veteran, and he was on Percocets for like 25 years. And the first day he tried cannabis, he threw all that away, and he has not gone back in like 4 years, and he has no reason to. He has no want to. It's crazy. It really
Yeah,
is mind
that'd
blowing.
be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Well, you'll try it out. So cool. Well, hit me with some more questions. I love it. I love it.
Hey, you want to make sure whenever you're maybe doing something for these women on like menopause, you want to send them in something strong enough to deal with their menopause.
Right.
So help me out.
Yeah,
I,
we're not always fun to live with now.
I can
Not
imagine.
that we were fun to live with before, but now it's even worse.
Now
I,
you know why I work nights.
I can't wait. I can't wait for y'all to try that. It's crazy that it has been so scrutinized and such a negative stigma around it. But like I said, with anything, you can definitely have that stereotype of just being an addict. I mean, you can be an addict in the gym and fucking be way too skinny and be in there for 4 hours a day and tearing all your muscle and you're not actually building. So
Right,
anything can be addictive, but
right.
it's
Well,
just
let me ask you this too, because we've been talking about us, and we've also talked about privately about animals.
mhm.
So, in the same respect, can you use the same product on your animals for their issues as well, or does it have is it blended differently for them?
100%. Yep. And it's pretty much the same product. It's a very big market now because, as you know, people will spend $100 on pet food for them for the week, but they won't spend $50 on themselves.
Right.
So yeah, the pet market is huge. There is a big company called Vet CBD, and that is, like I said, the non-psychoactive form of cannabis, and that's the medicinal form. But that's huge in the fact that like smaller dogs that have a ton of anxiety and separation anxiety and are always barking and yapping, it helps big time. It helps them calm down and have a sense of relief and not be so giddy up all the time. Same goes with bigger dogs and their joints and their hips. Usually in a dog or a cat or what have you, it's going to be a sublingual drop. So you can like give it to them under their tongue or what have you. Or I think they do make dog treats, and they're just like any other dog treat. They don't taste any different. I don't personally know that, but
You tried
I
it.
haven't tried that yet. But yes, that is a huge market, and that is already established and tested and proven. And yeah, like I said, I'd love to get Allie Bear some
Yeah.
stuff. So
Well, you talked about the anxiety and the yapping and all that. Well, we have that too with the other two. Oh
hmm
my God,
yeah, so
drive me.
I'm very curious on how they would be affected by it too. So
I know, right? Well, we have to laugh because right now, you know how loud it is in our house with
hmm
foster kids and dogs and cats and everything. We are literally sitting in our master bedroom closet.
oh my goodness, that is hilarious. Wow, it's super
We made,
quiet.
yeah, we made an office in here because we had to lock our bedroom door just to keep out all the riffraff and the noise.
That is hilarious. Wow, y'all are so funny. I love it.
Well, it was either there or the truck, so we decided this would be better.
There we go. Yep. Not keep it idling.
Uh, yeah, this is our new office.
Hell yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh man, it's wild to just see the the amount of turnaround we've had. I mean, I remember I was telling my dad this. I remember when he asked me if I've ever smoked marijuana. This was before the Marine Corps, all this kind of stuff, and I truthfully told him, no, I haven't. Obviously, never did the Marine Corps, and it's just wild that it's come full circle, and that I'm educating y'all, and I just feel blessed to be put in that position because I do feel like I'm very professional in the fact that how I portray myself and the amount of knowledge I know. It's just really cool for me to be able to share this information with y'all and with all my audience as well. So I love it.
Yeah, that's good. Well, what I was going to say too is another thing I thought about was drug testing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are prescribed, a card, a medical card,
Mm-hmm.
and you are drug tested for a specific job, do you just show the card? And is that still considered, with some companies, you're just not hireable?
Good question. Great question. I think this is a ballpark estimate. I would say 70% of companies with a medical recommendation, you're fine. You're good to go. Another thing is when you are drug tested, they are testing for the THC, tetrahydrocannabidiol. They're testing for the psychoactive part in cannabis. So if you just have CBD, which is the medicinal form, which is what's really going to help you with all your ailments, you will never pop on a drug test, ever, 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 ever. But if you consume THC, the psychoactive high part, you will pop. But a lot of states that are medical, that is a legitimate form of an excuse, pretty much. But I think some big companies that are still stuck in their ways, I don't think that'll change. But I mean, a lot of companies now, it's really costly for them to test for that. It is a more expensive test versus like heroin or meth or something like that. So it's starting to be weaned out. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Well, then my other question is, being in this little small town, when we owned our restaurant, many of our employees smoked. But when they were going for other jobs, they would buy products that supposedly cleaned your system so that they wouldn't test positive. Is that really true?
Yes and no. There's like a bunch of stuff that you can get from, I feel like, any smoke shop, that can cleanse your liver out in a certain amount of time that they say or attest to. But personally, I do not know, but I know I have had some buddies that use that, and they've had it work. Honestly, I know the biggest thing is somebody will buy somebody else's pee or get somebody else's pee online, shipped to them, and then they'll just put a hand warmer next to the pee, right next to their junk, and then the hand warmer on top of that to make sure that the liquid is hot when it comes out. Yes, there is products that like kind of speed up the rate at which your liver kind of cleanses your body out. But THC will stay in your body. It depends on your metabolism, but a week to 3 weeks. That doesn't mean that it's active. It's not meaning that you're high for a week. It means that it just stays in your body for a testing standpoint up to that time.
Okay.
Which is funny. My job, they said if you did not pop with cannabis, they wouldn't hire you. So, yeah, I know. It's funny. So, right, totally reversed. But I know that if I were to get drug tested, I would want to stop consuming THC for at least 2 weeks. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Good question.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
I love it.
We pretty much covered a lot of the questions I had written down and Randy and I talked about.
Okay.
For now, like I said, now I need to do myself, see if I can find some more research and see what other questions I have.
Heck yeah. This is great. This is such a trip.
I know, right?
I love it. Yeah.
The times are changing, babe.
The times are changing, that's for sure. So what a beautiful thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like I said, once we are explain things and we understand things, I mean, we're open to most stuff anyways, as long as we understand it.
Yep.
It's just like I said, stigma and not understanding something is what creates havoc.
Yep. Loopholes, and it creates guessing, and then that creates lies and all that kind of stuff. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of what this negative stigma is built on top of. So hey, it's okay. We're breaking it.
Yep,
so
that's right.
slowly but surely.
At a time.
Awesome, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much for taking this time out of your day to do this, and I will talk to y'all soon.
Okay,
And of
buddy.
course, if let's talk about normal stuff and call me anytime. So,
All right, sounds
yeah,
good, buddy. We
heck yeah.
love you.
I love y'all too, and y'all have a
All
good
right,
rest of your day, and go Jags.
all right, buddy.
All
Yeah.
right,
Take care.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, love you, Randy. Give Allie a squeeze for me. Everybody else in the house too, please.
All right, man.
We
Love you too,
will.
buddy.
We
We'll
love
see
you.
ya.
Love you. Bye.
Bye, babe.
Wow. Another great phone call. Now that I was with my mom and my stepdad, as y'all know. Wow, it's just crazy. It's come full circle, man. This is just a trip. I love it. I know I've said those phrases multiple times over these two conversations, but it's hard for me to describe it any other way. I'm just at a loss for words almost. It is a trip. I'm so glad that I was put in this position and I'm able to help others just like this. I just wish I could help more people. So please share this episode, share the podcast with your friends. I mean, it's truly, I'm not doing this for me. I really am not. I'm doing this for y'all. I mean, it takes so much time out of my day just to edit these podcasts and to produce them. So I'm not getting paid for this. And when I am, it's still going to be out of compassion. And it's coming from a genuine place in my heart of why I'm doing this. So please share all this, all of what America's Podcast is giving to all, because we just want to reciprocate the energy, the knowledge, and all this kind of stuff. And it only just helps to get it to a broader audience. I really think this can change how America looks at cannabis. We are getting there, and it takes everybody. It's a fight that everybody is having to overcome. It's not just me talking in a microphone. It's you going out to other people, and to when you hear that negative or that BS on cannabis, it's your job to overcome that or to talk about that. Don't attack anybody about it, but come at them at a knowledgeable standpoint and tell them why that they're wrong. So we're all in this together. We're all working toward the same mission, and we're going to get it done. I'm telling you, we're going to get it done. And it's not going to stop for a long time. So we have a lot of work ahead of ourselves, and let's get there. Let's get her done, boy. Alrighty, y'all. Have fun. I hope y'all have a good rest of your week. And it's Austin. I'm out. Peace. Thank you for listening to America's Podcast. If your goal is to be informed on current cannabis news, educated on the newest laws and regulations, at the same time be entertained by your crazy but relatable host, you're in the right place. If you enjoyed the show, please share our passion with others so we can better inform the whole world. We would highly appreciate if you subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and by mentioning us to your family and friends. As always, we love hearing and interacting with you. Please continue to ask us questions and to keep us updated on your cannabis journey. We are here to inform, educate, and entertain the whole cannabis community on Earth. Maybe one day we will branch out to Mars. If you'd like to inquire about advertising with APC, email us at info@americaspodcast.com. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is APC, America's Podcast.